Who's better, Seth Rollins or The Rock? Roman Reigns or Stone Cold Steve Austin? LA Knight or, well, I don't know, we'll get into it. Attitude Era versus today's product here on Falls Count Anywhere.
Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome back to the greatest Wrestling with the Business spin-off show, Falls Count Anywhere. I am your host, the hologram of the varsity athlete, Jeremy Baudet. I am on vacation right now. I am not actually here, but I am here in spirit. Proving it is my partner in crime, Matthew, the Professor Lambert. And today we're going off the reservation a little bit into an interesting topic. I read an article recently coming to you from Bleacher Report that basically had Graham Matthews basically went through and did a comparison of the current era versus the Attitude Era. And it struck me because what I thought he was going to do was go through and do sort of an overview. The Attitude Era had scantily clad women. There really wasn't much of a women's division.
Mm-hmm.
Today, there's multiple titles for women on each side, and there's many more women, and they're not nearly as scantily clad, and they don't do pillow fights, and Vince McMahon doesn't have a special assistant, and all that other stuff. But he didn't really do that so much as he actually developed a comparison. Stone Cold versus whoever, Rock versus whoever. And he basically drew connections between modern day characters and performers and their what he thought were their Attitude Era equivalents. So I thought what we'd do is we'd go through the list. We would take a peek at, well, first I would ask you, who do you think is the current equivalent of this?
Mm-hmm.
And give you his answer and see where we fall on it.
Okay.
It is interesting to compare the two times as they do appear to be, I mean, we all kind of talk about the 1980s as sort of the golden era. But if you look at revenue, if you look at growth, if you look at
popularity
and the quality of the product, if you look at the quality of the production, if you look at the diversity of performers and the diversity of act, I just think everything is better. We call it the golden era because I think everything looks shiny when you look back 40 or 50 years. But I think from an actual analytical standpoint, the product of today, we're sort of coming out of the John Cena nosedive, right? John Cena enters and, oh my God, the Attitude Era is over. John Cena exits and, oh, hey, look, we're coming back to where we were before. So, a little bit of a
So, to be clear,
John Cena there.
The Attitude Era was in the late 90s to early 2000s.
I would say 98 to 05, 97.
97, 98, yeah.
Yeah. No, Raw 93 wouldn't.
No.
But
I'm just clarifying for anyone who didn't watch back then.
The Attitude Era was essentially, it's two things. It was, in my opinion, it was a response to the NWO, and it was a response to the Montreal Screwjob,
Yep.
which was 96. You can draw a direct connection. The Montreal Screwjob created the Vince McMahon heel character.
Montreal Screwjob was 97.
Then I guess we're going to say 97.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm a year early. It was late 97, right?
Mm-hmm.
Survivor Series? Where were they?
Yes. I think so.
They were in Montreal, right? That's why it's called the Montreal Screwjob.
I don't know why you call me the professor. I don't know this shit.
Anyways, let's just say it was 97 for the sake of argument. Montreal Screwjob was 97, which created Vince McMahon, probably one of
Mr. McMahon.
Mr. McMahon,
Yep.
arguably one of the greatest heels in professional wrestling history. And he, Mr. McMahon, the gimmick, basically drove the Attitude Era.
Yep.
Every major storyline that you can think of from that time. So, from there until about 2005. I would say 2005, the angle started changing. It became more of a children's-oriented program.
Oh, first there was the Ruthless Aggression Era. That was the Cenas, the Ortons, the Batistas. That's when they came to prominence. But yeah, they were.
I think they entered the scene 02, 03, but they didn't really come into their own until 05.
Right.
I would say 05 was when we really started seeing the hustle, loyalty, and respect angle, which is really more kid-oriented. It really isn't. There's no Attitude Era associated with that. So let's just go one by one and get your thoughts on it. So the first Attitude Era superstar that they bring up, that he brings up, is Kurt Angle.
Oh, Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle.
Now, is he considering wrestling ability or gimmick or popularity in his comparisons, or is it just like a mirror image type thing? Because my first thought would be, today's Kurt Angle is Chad Gable. Another former Olympian, a fantastic wrestler, certainly not nearly as popular as Angle was. Not a world title contender. So I'm curious what his metrics are for these comparisons.
Let me read directly from it.
Okay.
By multiple measures, today's product can be considered on par with the Attitude Era, specifically in terms of company revenue, merchandise, attendance numbers. Television ratings and the lack of uniqueness surrounding the superstars suggest otherwise, of course, yet the stellar skills of today's talent between the ropes are unmatched. Perennial main event players such as Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns have done an exceptional job of leading the new generation, while women's wrestling has broken barriers thanks to Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Four Horsewomen, and others. For as many differences as there are between then and now, these modern-day WWE stars and the Attitude Era counterparts indicate they have more in common than some may realize. So he doesn't give any specific KPIs, but what I will say is, and we'll start with this Kurt Angle one, I'll read it, you'll get a feeling for his justification, and then you can let that color. So I'll just give you the Kurt Angle one. He says, Kurt Angle is AJ Styles.
Okay.
Fans were fortunate enough to enjoy a brief period when the careers of Angle and Styles overlapped, but imagine the quality of matches they could have had when Angle was at his physical prime. The former Raw general manager was an all-out wrestling machine in the Attitude Era, not unlike the phenomenal one throughout his tenure in WWE. Despite their size, they proved that they could hang with the top talent and be world champion many times over.
Okay.
So I think our inkling is to say Chad Gable.
Right.
Gable Stevenson. Sheldon Benjamin. Like, our inkling is to go in that direction. That's not really where he's going, right?
Okay.
It's not about the gimmick. It's about, it goes deeper than that. It's a little more about their ability to work in the business, how they worked. There are similarities in here in gimmicks that you'll see, but I think that's more tertiary. So let's move on to the next one. I'll show you. So I kind of agree with it.
Yeah, and once you say it, I can see it just from like you said, like a work rate, their working ability, their what's the word I'm looking for? Their ability inside the ropes is very similar.
Styles.
They can work with anyone and make any match look good.
Styles is. I don't think he has the kind of flexibility to go behind the scenes and work in a supportive role like an Angle did.
True.
And I don't think Styles has the same type of world championship caliber. I think Styles is kind of a mid-card guy. He's gotten a taste of the top of the mountain.
That I would disagree with.
I don't think he has the kind of...
I think he's definitely world champion material. Absolutely. Always has been.
Okay. I mean, he did win the world championship, but he's not a perennial guy at the top, the way that Kurt Angle was.
Okay, the company doesn't see him that way, but I think he definitely is. He should be the world champion.
I mean, I think the only reason Angle got that shot was because he was a gold medalist with a broken neck. I mean, he is responsible for the ruthless aggression angle, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, Chris Jericho.
Attitude Era Chris Jericho or today Chris Jericho?
Of course, obviously, Attitude Era Chris Jericho.
Okay, well, he's still working, so.
And when I think about Attitude Era Chris Jericho, I picture a mid-card guy. Never really got the shot that he should have gotten. Played with a lot of different gimmicks and did some funny shit, The List and other stuff like that.
Yeah. That wasn't Attitude Era though. That was later.
I mean, not long. Couldn't have been long.
I'd say the Miz.
That's pretty good, but I think The Miz is too old. I think The Miz, I mean, he came into the business, 08? I think The Miz is on his way out.
Oh, he's still in today's product. I guess I'm really not understanding what he's doing in this article then, if that's the case.
I think you need to pick a guy that hit his prime
If you say that, then you got to say that about AJ Styles too, if that's your reasoning.
I think AJ Styles only entered WWE in 2016.
Right.
He spent whatever it was, 12 years in Impact or however long it was. So I think
He was in
because of
WCW
that,
back in the day.
AJ Styles.
Yeah.
Um,
2000, 2001, he was in WCW.
I think the point that he's getting at is you need to. We could say Undertaker by that standard. Undertaker today, he's still on a performance contract. You know what I mean? Like you can't pick a guy that clearly is not in his prime, that clearly is not doing some of the best work of his
Okay,
career
well
inside the WWE.
that wasn't specified in the article. That's what I'm saying. It's not very clear.
So who would you pick?
I said The Miz.
You would pick The Miz.
Yeah.
You picked LA Knight.
Compared to Chris Jericho. Okay.
When Jericho arrived with WWE in 1999, it didn't take long to get over with the audience through his contagious catchphrases and unparalleled charisma. Knight has been a similar sensation for the company as of late and should reach the same level of success the now All Elite Wrestler star did. Knight isn't a technical wrestler like Jericho was and still is, but have them engage in a war of words and watch them make magic. I don't like that comparison.
Yeah, I don't. He doesn't have any metrics he's going by that I would consider then.
The Ministry of Darkness.
Jeez. The Ministry of Darkness and the Attitude Era
I mean,
compared
if you could
to
go into AEW,
I would
Black.
either House of Black or Dark Order. Yeah, that's the first thing I
Dark
thought
Order's
of.
a little too.
They're too comic-y.
Yeah.
But this is all just WWE.
It's all now.
Judgment Day?
It's of course Judgment Day.
Yeah, okay.
What he does say is that the Undertaker-led faction had many memorable moments during their time together, even though it was short, while Judgment Day have carried Raw for the better part of the past year. Finn Balor isn't the wrestling legend Taker turned into, but the Demon and Deadman are attractions in their own way.
Okay.
Sort of an alter ego type thing. Although
Yep.
in all fairness, during the Attitude Era, that was like Biker. That was American Badass Undertaker.
No, that was after.
That was like 2000, 2002.
Okay, well, the bulk of the Ministry of Darkness was Attitude Era by far. That was when he was the Satan gimmick.
This is another one that I think is interesting. Triple H.
Today's Triple H. See,
It's hard.
Yeah.
The business is different. It's not driven by the same.
well, yeah, that, and I don't know what he's basing this off of. I'm not gonna get any of these right. I know I'm not, but
I mean, right. It's just a matter of.
Yeah, I know.
There's no right.
Triple H, world champion. I'm gonna say.
I don't.
Jeez, yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna say Sheamus.
Gunther.
Okay. He's not a world champion though.
I think obviously Gunther's a lot earlier in his career, but I think he's making a comparison more to the function of the D-Generation X stable. Imperium is really it's the only stable that could come anywhere near close to the Judgment Day. They don't have the same gimmick. It's not antics,
Not
it's
at all. No.
doing funny stuff at all. But I think that there's a champion that's running the show, and then there's two minor characters that are kind of gimmicky.
If that's the case, then it should be Shawn Michaels and Gunther.
You may be right, but I think the problem with that, and this goes back to his unstable metrics. Shawn Michaels doesn't look anything like doesn't even have the same type of look.
Yeah. I don't see any comparison between Triple H and Gunther either.
I mean, they're both.
This is a weird list. Where'd you find this shit?
I mean, I'll read it for you. The Game was a constant champion during the Attitude Era and beyond, while Gunther's two title reigns have totaled 3.5 years. Thus, it would have been a toss-up if the two stable leaders ever did battle in a belt.
The two stable leaders. So, okay, so he is talking about the later DX.
Yeah.
With the Outlaws and X-Pac.
Yes.
Okay.
The D-Generation X version of Triple H and Gunther are polar opposites, but one thing they do share is their affinity for gold. All right, Shawn Michaels.
Seth Rollins.
Yes.
That's an easy
That's
one.
kind of a given,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, basically it just talks about the Antique.
Yeah. Antique, work rate,
Visionary,
Yeah.
high work rate, yeah.
all that. Okay.
Um,
Well, at least he's on the same page about that.
This one should be easy too. China.
Compared to today, Rhea Ripley.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Um,
I almost said Beth Phoenix. I'm like, no, that's not it. She's still working.
yeah, exactly. That's not like, yeah, they definitely were doing a hint. I mean, they're forcing it. WWE's forcing that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like picks like this kind of make me feel like a work. It's like nobody's like China, dude.
Right.
But the fact that they had Rhea kind of hinting at the Intercontinental Championship and stuff like that, which
Yep.
obviously China won. It felt a little forced, but at the same time, there's just the women's division is just so different. This is going to be a controversial one. Mick Foley is there. Who is the closest? Who's 10 miles away from Mick Foley, but is closer than anybody else?
Yeah, I'm gonna get this wrong. The first thing that popped into my head was Bray Wyatt. A little, the outside character. Depending on which Mick Foley you're going with, but he's the, he's kind of the outside character
You got
and
the Funhouse
Right.
Fiend, which is Mankind,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got, let's say, Cactus Jack, which is more of the Wyatt family style.
Yep.
I think that's a lot better. He picked Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens.
What?
Let me read you this.
Did,
Early
Okay.
on in his WWE career, Mankind was as sick, twisted, and demented as they come. He made a name for himself by beating The Undertaker and putting his body through unimaginable pain. Owens embodies that aggression as well, and despite their unconventional physiques, they are outstanding performers because of their innate ability to tell a captivating story both in the ring and on the mic. The same can be said of Zayn, who refuses to give up no matter what side of the fence he's on. He and Foley are the ultimate underdogs as baby faces, but when they're heels, they can be equally entertaining and infinitely more obnoxious, particularly when Foley is channeling his dude love persona. Owens is more like Cactus Jack in regards to going to the extreme when necessary and being an unrelenting antagonist. Most importantly, Foley was known to elevate everyone he worked with, and the duo of Zayn and Owens are no different. I think that's bullshit.
yeah.
I definitely do not, when I think of people that elevate other people, I do not think of Owens. But I do think he does have an interesting point about not having the physique, but still making it work. Not having the look,
Mm-hmm.
but making it work, telling a compelling story, and getting over with the crowd, even though you're not supposed to get
Yeah.
over.
You can say that about a lot of guys, though.
Trish Stratus. But she is barely attitude era. As a matter of fact, he says right off the bat, where is it? Stratus truly was the face of the women's division once it was relaunched in the early 2000s. Granted, she didn't win her first title until after the Attitude Era was deemed officially over, but she still had an important presence on TV.
Yeah.
This is one I don't really agree with either.
Yeah, again, the first thing that popped in my head was Alexa Bliss.
Yeah, Charlotte.
Oh, God, no. Come on.
Yeah, I don't see it here. WWE Hall of Famer started out as a manager and gradually worked her way up the ranks despite having no prior wrestling experience. She was at the forefront of the first women's revolution, much like the Queen was for the second in 2015.
See, now I'm going to defend my choice here. Alexa Bliss, she started out as a valet
Yeah.
in NXT
Yeah.
for Buddy Murphy and Wesley Blake.
The work. Yeah.
She was not good in the ring. She has developed, I mean, if you watched our episode a couple weeks ago, where she's my top favorite, most improved female wrestler, she is phenomenal in the ring now. She is a much better comparison to Trish than Charlotte.
Trish was lightning in a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
She had the look that appealed to the Attitude Era audience, but
Yep.
she had the grit and she developed the skills necessary to function during the seminal moments of the women's division in the early 2000s. I think Charlotte Flair was born for this.
Mhm.
She has the look that Vince McMahon wants. I think if you're going to make a comparison to China, you got to go with Charlotte Flair.
Maybe.
They both function way better as heels. They both have that muscular look. And if anyone in the women's division won the Intercontinental Championship, Charlotte Flair is the most believable. She's 5'10". She's bigger than Rhea Ripley.
I like the Rhea Ripley comparison better.
It makes more sense to me to have someone like Charlotte Flair
Maybe.
inside that role.
It fits China better than Trish. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think this it's a flimsy comparison to be like, well, she restarted it in 2015. It's like they have nothing in common.
Mm-hmm.
Charlotte Flair is literally wrestling royalty.
Right.
It's the two seem totally off. Here's one. Stone Cold. That tea is Stone Cold. You better drink it for it, Stone Cold. That's it. Stone Cold.
Who is like Stone Cold today?
Austin 316 says I'll just whip your ass.
Didn't I say this to you the other day? There's never going to be another Stone Cold or Macho Man or Rock or whoever, because the product is so different today. They're never going to reach those heights.
I think Hogan said it best. He says, the product back then was you went to see the person. That's why being at the top of the card was so important.
Mm-hmm.
But now everything is so cookie cutter.
You go to see the brand.
If you pull somebody out, there's 3 people ready to step up.
Right.
And they all have a similar look, and they've all been coached by the same people at the Performance Center, so they all have the same profile of moves, and it's almost like it's you're getting different flavor. This is why I'm adding on this. You're getting different flavors of ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all ice cream. It's not slushy, it's not milkshake, it's not any other sweet treat. It's ice cream. And
Right.
no matter how many flavors you have access to, Baskin Robbins, you're going to get sick of the flavor in a long enough time.
Right.
So I think that's true. But
I would say, compared to Stone Cold, jeez.
I will say this.
We already said LA Knight, right? He was already on this list.
To give you a hint, and I think you're falling into the gimmick trap, which is easy to fall into here.
Right. So it's not going to be that.
They admit straight up that this person's character is almost the polar opposite, but the way that they leverage their influence in the company on the screen is similar, which I can see a little bit of what he's saying on this one. I think his argument here is these two characters are two sides of the same coin. So you got the Stone Cold side of the coin, which is maybe the tail's end. Who would be on the head side of that coin?
No idea.
Cody Rhodes. Really, from a character standpoint, Cody Rhodes is the antithesis of everything Stone Cold Steve Austin stood for at the height of his popularity. While Austin rebelled against authority, Rhodes held a position of power as an EVP in All Elite Wrestling. Rhodes wears suits and does everything by the book. Austin found success by going against the grain and being a shining example of what the fans wish they were, meaning telling your boss to go F himself, right? That was the dream that he helped everybody fulfill. Despite their differences, the two are relatable, which is why they are so over with the audience. The Stone Cold pop isn't consistent with any one star nowadays, with the possible exception of Rhodes, who has been adored by the vast majority since making his triumphant return to the WWE at WrestleMania 38. White-hot baby faces are hard to come by. WWE captured lightning in a bottle with Austin in the Attitude Era, and they've been wise to put Rhodes on a similar pedestal in this past year, not to mention they can both sell a match just by talking. The biggest thing currently separating Rhodes from Austin is the lack of a world title. If he can finish his story by unseating Reigns, then he'll be there. That's basically what it comes to. And this should be the easiest one, The Rock.
Roman Reigns.
And Roman Reigns, that's right. As the biggest star in wrestling now, Reigns is the definition of a final boss with no redeeming qualities in the best way possible. He's been world champ for nearly 3 years because of his beautifully crafted character arc, and Rock's rise to the top of WWE in the Attitude Era parallels his in many ways, although Rock was willing to lose the championship on a pretty regular basis.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, he definitely lost it. He lost it more than he gained it. If that makes any sense. The Gray One was rejected shortly after debuting because there wasn't anything that stood out as special about him beyond being a multi-generational star. Reigns had the Shield to fall back on when he started out, but he also suffered from crowd backlash when he was on his own as a babyface. So basically, I think that the argument here is that obviously they're both Samoan, they both have similar looks, but I think the idea is they premiered as faces, they couldn't get over, they went heel, they got way over, which is definitely true with Rock.
Yeah.
100% true. Is Reigns getting over? Nah, better
He
than
was.
when he was a face.
He was, yeah.
Better than when he was a face. He's nothing compared to Rock. He's nothing on the mic. And frankly, he's not as good a wrestler as Rock was.
Exactly.
Probably not even better than The Rock is now.
Who wrote this article?
This was Graham Miramina, a.k.a. Graham Matthews.
Graham, this article upsets me. You need to do better with your comparisons.
Listen, I'm going to defend him a little bit here. I think this was an impossible task, which is why I wanted to bring it up to you, because to me this is totally Sisyphusian. This is a ridiculous thing. There's nothing to compare. This would be like saying, compared to the steroid era in baseball, who's the equivalent of Mark McGwire today? Who's the equivalent of Sammy Sosa today? It's like, dude, it's so unbelievably different. This is the basis of why this article represents what I think is an impossibility, is the fact that what makes wrestling so great is its ability to morph and transform. Fundamentally, at its basis, if you go back to baseball in 1896, it's the same game. Yes, okay, there are some minor differences. There weren't designated hitters back in 1896. There weren't as many teams. The nature of the games was slightly different. Pitchers went longer. The roster sizes were different. But at the end of the day, it's still 90 feet from home plate to first base.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You still got to hit the ball and catch the ball and throw the ball. Yeah, you can do it further. Yeah, you can do it faster and all that stuff. But fundamentally, it's the same game. Professional wrestling today compared to professional wrestling in 1896, not even freaking close, man. Not even the same thing. If an alien came down and watched these two events simultaneously next to each other, he would not think that they were related in any way except for the fact that they took place inside a ring. It would be the only similarity between them. And frankly, that's what makes wrestling so great. And it's fascinating to see what wrestling is going to be in 20 years, or depressing, depending on your particular brand. But I think that it was an impossible task that he endeavored to do. I think he did decent in a couple of spots, but there definitely are a couple of things where it's just like, dude, like Stone Cold. Like, dude, there is no Stone Cold. It's just not going to happen.
No.
I'm going to shoot on him a little bit here. I think this is an angle. This is an angle.
It's getting buzz. It's getting people talking about it.
There are plenty of negative aspects of these. I think that there are more negative aspects of the characters that make them similar than positive ones, and he only this was a full-on suck-up article. And so, yeah, I think this was a work. I mean, if I would take the opposite approach. If I was to try to write an article like this, I would say, what are the things that I hate about a particular performer like Stone Cold? Who are the same people today that do those same things that I don't like? I think you're much more likely to have success if you take it from that angle.
Right.
Because you're not going to fall into the gimmick trap. This guy talks too much on the mic then, this guy talks too much on the mic now. I don't care if they wear black eyeliner. I don't care if they have the same finisher. I don't care about any of that stuff. I don't get distracted.
Yeah, having different comparisons for each set of people, it's like, what are you basing this on then?
And when you look, if we think about the ones that we think he hit the target on, like let's take the Shawn Michaels and the Seth Rollins comparison. If we take the negative aspects, the visionary, which I know is a gimmick you're not crazy about, and the whole Shawn Michaels antic trickster thing, that's something that I think didn't go over well for either one of them.
Right.
And look at that, it's something that they have in common.
I mean, you could
old sexy boy gimmick, which went over really well.
Yep.
At the start of the 90s era. I mean, there's no comparison to that today.
I mean, using something different for each comparison, it's like saying, AJ Styles and Kurt Angle are similar because their work rate, but Trish and Charlotte are similar because they're blonde.
and that's what you fall into. You fall into the gimmick trap when you do that, which is how you end up with Judgment Day and
Ministry of Darkness.
Ministry of Darkness.
Because they're both creepy.
Yeah, they both have that same gimmicky look. Well, okay, well, why not Imperium?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You could. That's when you look at the negativities of each one. I would stay away from Staples, anyways. I wouldn't have even touched the groups. That's a bad idea to begin with. But yeah, I think that would have been much better. And I think there's a lot. If you want to look at commonalities between now and 20 years ago, you have to look at the negative because they've improved on the good stuff.
Right.
They've gotten better. They looked at a lot of their weaknesses and they improved them. But the stuff that we hate today is the same stuff that we hated yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you're going to find the commonalities. So, I don't know. One way to potentially improve when you do round 2 in 20 more years, Graham.
Well, thanks for upsetting me while you're away on vacation. that was a downer.
For the record, this is hologram, Jared, so if the quality's a little fuzzy, just know that that's why that is.
On that note, let's wrap this up. We got our main show dropping every Friday, Falls Count Anywhere on Monday. Like I said, on our main show, we're going to be going over the results for SummerSlam.
I want to tease something here. We are looking at doing a briefer, more news update type format here. I'm going to test it out in the next couple of weeks here, so watch, let me know what you guys think. We have an alternative YouTube channel, just Straight Wrestling with the Business, that we're going to be posting it on. Let us know what you guys think. We're going to touch on one big article for each day, and we're going to do a quick 10-minute, 15-minute commentary on it, just to try to increase the amount of content. You know, we get on the show, there's so much to cover.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes we don't have a chance to cover what we want to cover. So I think it's an opportunity to have contact with you guys each day, and if you want sort of the biggest piece of news for the day, subscribe to our channel, and you'll start getting those updates with commentary. Again, 10 to 15 minutes won't take, just long enough to get you into work and get the greatest piece of news. So tune in for that. That'll be coming in the next couple weeks.
Do the social media thing, and if you keep watching, we'll keep wrestling with the business.